Divine Esports are actually just pivoting entirely away from getting Lee Sin for Len, and with Darius locked in, there's no other role that the Camille can go other than the jungle. So I think Len is starting to just take a less of a risk in the early game, where we saw so much confidence before that, you know, Len would just be able to get his hands on Lee Sin and just snowball the early game, but just based on maybe the way that the past series against EVOS went, he's saying, you know what, I just want to take the scaling matchup. I'm going to ensure that I take the Camille, and so no matter what happens in the early game, I'm still a powerful split pusher the later the game goes.
Ooh, what a skill check. One team are coming in big with the Riven Lee Sin, and well, Divine and Franklin just curious to see what they're gonna respond with. I mean, Braum is a nice response, but it doesn't really block a lot of the damage from one team. They're ready to jump onto you. I guess Glacial Fissure could be used to try and find some form of disengage. I mean, Quay is going to be that full secondary engage for the team, so I don't quite like it still overall. But I mean, Rafa, you've been on the desk a lot now. You've seen a lot of these drafts. I'm sure you have some thoughts on this.
Yeah, I mean, we have to look at the elephant in the room, is that Divine Esports let the Varus priority go through over to one team and gave Ninja such a comfort priority pick for a Camille. And this is not a pick that we've really seen that much prioritize that much for Divine Esports. Usually it's been the likes of Renekton or Lee Sin or even Riven, and they let that all go. And it's really just to put Len into the driver's seat of a champion that as soon as they get past the 5-minute mark, you're going to have Trinity Force on Camille. And I'm really thinking that Len just looked at what Valdez did on the Fiora and just said, you know what? There's no point in trying to put myself on a timer in the early game. I'm just going to try to scale and out-split push one team.
Well, we're going to see if one team can prevail or if Divine Esports is going to start their lower bracket run right here, right now. This is game number 1. Casters, over to you guys.
Thank you very much, Mika. Welcome everyone to Divine Esports versus one team, their first match here in the lower bracket. And Riku, I'm excited for the series. This is something that we want to see, especially we're looking at Lee Sin, Xianyo, Kid with Riven, Tonex with Darius. These are champions that these players are comfortable with.
Yeah, this is for one team a very strong early to mid-game composition. And meanwhile, what Rafa mentioned, Len taking a page off of Valdez's book, where, okay, Len's gonna just scale alongside with Hope 1 as well. So the dynamic is gonna be a little bit different now, because Hope 1, meaning, not Hope 1, Coyote rather, is gonna opt for more of that little bit of that punish potential on that level 5. If one team so desires to do something else, hold that thought.
Yeah, Divine Esports going very aggressive in this early matchup. 40 seconds into the game, we're going for the 4v3. Now the flash will be burned by Len. That's the stun, but Quest still gonna be alive, but Vaya just dashes in. But look at Tonex, goes for the apprehend, puts him in, Ignite's gonna burn him down, not gonna be enough. First blood for one team.
It looked so good on Divine's book. I was choosing between paper or book. I don't know why I hesitated there. But because level 1 Divine is so good, you have the passive stacks of Quay on this Braum. You've got the gold card. But it seemed like they had a little bit of hesitation. They didn't have any target priority as well. So once Kid came in with that AoE stun, it practically backfired.
Yeah, and on top of all that, I think one team was hiding on the bush and Divine Esports did not have any information. How do we go about this? Are we going very aggressive? If we overextend, it can be punished by one team. So it's really just a double-edged sword. If we go all in, we need to commit. But the problem is Divine Esports was hindering quite a bit there. They don't want to go very all in that fight, but not really just going through. So they're just dancing. But here on top side, 2v1, Tonex with the knock-up from Kid, bringing down another kill for one team.
That is super clean coming from Xianyo. The trust on Kid. We talked about this before the draft even started. It's one of those things where Kid is the most consistent member coming from one team. If you enable him like what you're doing now with Xianyo's early Lee Sin, and they constantly create pressure against Tonex, then Divine Esports may have a big problem. Again, one team has shown weaknesses or struggles against teams that play fast. But if you adjust, if you're able to stabilize the game by applying pressure, then it shackles Divine Esports' way of getting ahead early. And we talked about the 10-minute timer for Divine last time when they went up against Evos earlier today. But because Divine has drafted Hope One on this Kaisa and as well as Lin towards this Camille, at least there is a little bit of that backup when it comes to the late game.
Yeah, it's the comeback potential for Divine Esports. This is their winning condition, is to sustain themselves for that long. But we'll see, because one team right now is capitalizing on the early game. They're going all in. We talked about this a while ago, right? How Xianyo and Len, who will be the better jungler? Who will be that better space maker for their team? And as of now, it's Xianyo putting that early aggression as a Lee Sin level 3, level 5 power spike to put their team in a very good position. Now a 2k goal lead in the first 3 minutes, 30 seconds of the game.
Yeah, it's looking to be a good start. I mean, 2 kills earlier on, and as well as being able to get a gank on towards top side. So we'll have to see how one team is able to execute their heavy skirmish, because Baya and CU for sure are going to tag team to make sure that the hero's entrance and the survivability of Baya is right there. Because of the shields, because of the CC knock-up coming from CU's ult on top of the Moonfall. So that is the ideal setup that one team is looking for. And I think the biggest cherry on top, I suppose, is Kid's AoE stun on that Riven. So we'll have to see if one team will prioritize the Rift Herald looking at their movements on the map right now.
Yeah, it's falling really close for one team as a wombo combo composition, as a team fight composition rather, right? Having Baya with a Moonfall, Ninja 7, pretty much every single one of them has this pickup potential and also has this AoE setup for their team, and I think they need to capitalize that to win on those team fights in the mid game. And Divine Esports is sort of that scaling. They need to wait for late game. Ton X with the Darius is a snowball champion. They need to have that early gold, be able to try and increase his prowess in that team fights later on. But for now, it's one team going for the Cloud Dragon and Divine Esports going for the Rift Herald.
They know that they will have the numbers disadvantage if they try to fight Divine Esports, because Coyote has been split pushing at bottom. It's not like Baya can fly across the map. So I really like this coming from Divine. They're able to get that Rift Scuttler. No, Herald.
Ooh, face check coming from Quay, and he will just get eviscerated. Another kill coming from one team. This is their third in this game with no trade as of yet for Divine.
Yeah, it looks like Divine is just going to be satisfied with First Blood Tower here, not even dropping the Rift Herald just yet. So they can... No! One team denies First Blood Tower, lose on that gold bonus, and decides to just be... and decided to be patient here. We'll see this collapse.
Yeah, look at the taunt coming from CU. Goes for the two-man taunt here, and Ninja 7 comes with a follow-up. That's the exhaust onto Taunt X. Gonna get killed with a wind slash from Kid.
Beautifully done there, coming from one team, even devaluing the Rift Herald. It was basically only one charge. The intention of Divine Esports for keeping the Rift Herald was not to waste it. Hopefully they're able to get another charge in to destroy the inner tower at top side, but one team, quick to their feet, quick to their decision making, and basically collapsed before having to deny that from happening.
Yeah, and I think it was like one team esports, two men on bot side. Let's go for the Rift Herald, but they did not know it was an early recall come from one team. As soon as they got the Tower First Blood, they went back to respawn top side. But look at here, it's gonna be one team getting another turret top lane, and Divine Esports wants to have this pressure in mid lane as Coyote went in for the Destiny to respond onto that, but one team consistently pressures in with those quick responses.
Yeah, this has been little bit more of that macro focused. Every single time Divine Esports goes to the opposite portion of the map, one team is just ready to respond towards the area where where one team can easily try and push the wave and regain control. So I really like this coming from the side of one team. Divine also utilizing the fact that they have this Twisted Fate Destiny again. We talked about this before. Coyote in this setup, in this dynamic of scaling, is there to punish one team for their early game plays, get the numbers advantage, and as well as enable the split push in the early phases of the game. As we saw earlier, Coyote had to face against Baya. Baya couldn't fly. Of course, Diana just having that dual potential up against Coyote whenever Coyote decides to pressure a certain lane.
Yeah, and I'm glad that you mentioned about Coyote because I'm thinking about the same player. I'm thinking about the same champion because when you're looking at the items, he has now secured the Rod of Ages and also the Lich Bane. And Lich Bane, as we all know, is a huge power spike coming from Twisted Fate. So I think we might expect a lot of damage now coming up for Divine
Kick.
Esports. But look at Xianyo with Dragon's Rage, gonna be locked in.
What?
Hextech Ultimate, a good response from Divine as they take the kill instead of Xianyo.
So much damage is still not over.
Yeah, one team trying to hold
Moonfall.
on. It's a Moonfall going for 3-man knockup. And Kid with the win slash secures Tonex.
That is just so much damage. You see, CU never got to use his ult at all.
Ooh, gold card massive from Coyote, but he's very low. And Kid forces out the flash with that skill kit, almost surviving, but Hope One gets a kill.
And it all snowballed because of, again, Xianyo wanted to enter the fight, use CU to dive into the backline, possibly make a triple man taunt play before the dragon spawned. But it basically backfired because the rest of one team were pretty much far away. There was no way a follow-up collapse could have happened in that scenario. Divine Esports just basically punished that play. And now, no important ults available on the side of one team in time for this dragon. Maybe only the Moonfall, but I feel like the hero's entrance is just so critical in this setup.
Definitely. It's a very, very good, just something in your back pocket for extra sustainability in this matchup, especially with a lot of burst damage potential. But look at one team. Chain of Corruption connects onto Tonex, no follow-up. So that will not be a kill. Tonex is just frontlining in that pretty much a little bit of a greetings there for both teams, but no kills. They're just waiting for that right opportunity because Mountain Dragon is alive.
Yeah, they're waiting for CU's hero's entrance before anything else, and one team can afford to do so because...
Oh, Kid jumps in. This is the opportunity that one team wants. Destiny will give information, but Moonfall from Baya gets 3, but Divine Esports, Hope One, gets a kill instead. Killer Instinct jumps straight into the backside, and now it's Kid trying to run away. He does, but Divine Esports gets away with 1 kill.
I just found it a little funny. I said they had the opportunity to wait it out a little bit because they had poke coming from Varus.
Now, Divine Esports going to secure the Mountain Dragon while one team is just hovering around in the backside, tries to contest, will not do so. And now it's Divine Esports going ahead with a free dragon in their back pocket.
Nicely done by Divine here. This sets the tone again. They're able to get the shields on that buff. Therefore, they're able to defend themselves a little bit, get that mitigation against Ninja 7's taunts, especially later on during the Baron dances, during the Ocean Drake. Let's take a look at that again. I talked about this before. It is fine to buy time till you have the hero's entrance because Baya will need that immensely, needing that secondary CC to follow up for that Moonfall for him to survive a little bit longer. But again, key ults were not available. They wanted to engage onto Quay, and it felt like possibly it wasn't the right target.
Yeah, I think one team with that initial setup split up. And Divine Esports just got the huge edge in that fight, being able to capitalize onto a pitch wherein you have Kaisa, you have Twisted Fate, just having that solo single target, you're just gonna get eviscerated from that. So I think that is how Divine Esports played that out through and through. But for now, I am commending both teams because when you're looking at the gold, it's pretty much even, only 500 gold lead for Divine Esports.
Yeah, it's very, very close. Divine is able to build up, basically equalize, stabilize the game. But the scary thing is...
1v1 from Kid. This is what they don't want. Xianyo with a King Dragon Rage onto land. But Sonic Wave gonna get body blocked by the jungle creep.
No. Yeah, that's very unfortunate. I mean, they do not have... They could have had the numbers advantage because CU was on a Galileo, but take note, constantly Divine has been pressuring topside. So at the back of one team's head, we can't exactly prolong these fights or else we'll lose a tower. Good ball.
Now Baya, Moonfall followed up with
Here's
Hero's
entrance.
entrance. They're not gonna pull through. They just zoned away the enemy team. But Divine Esports is waiting for the right moment. But no minion wave to pull through.
No minion wave, no important ults just yet. Len still keeping the Hextech ultimatum very safe and sound, possibly going to set up for later if ever things get a little bit too sticky. But yeah, again, one team always has to think about topside, always has to think about that. Therefore, they can't exactly afford prolonged fights too much. And I really like this call coming from Divine here. Tanex having to build waves on bottom side instead. So we'll see now. Divine in the current lead. Remember, they have scaling, so one team is on a timer here.
Yeah, and that's what they want. They want to wait. But Divine Esports just going through. I think it was one team that was so close. If Len just pushed up a little bit into the riverbed, he could have been killed, but it was sort of a good response. You know what? It's you. He saw him. He pulls back. And I think this is what I love to see. It's just a reaction from Divine Esports and also one team on how they respond onto those fights. But here, it's Quay going for the face check. Sees on Tianyo, and now he's gonna get stunned up. Glacial Fisher, two-man, Baya, Moonfall on the air. He does not get anyone, and now Coyote golden card onto Bayo, delays him, and Siu will get killed. That's gonna be one for Divine Esports. Not anymore, but one team has lost their support.
It's a very dark map for one team. I bet Xianyo did not see that coming with a collapse coming from Divine Esports. Something to note as well. Earlier into the inventory, well, I thought that we might see a fight over here. Looks like that's going to be a no. Okay, for Zonia's Hourglass enchants on the side of one team. That is big respect to the finisher, to the guillotine coming from Tanex to deny that big burst of damage, and as well as that big gold card as well in the later fight. So there's just a lot of investment to make sure that those two things do not connect during the fights later on.
Yeah, definitely huge respects. Because if you're looking at it right now, Coyote
Kick?
with rapid fire kind of huge range. But now, one team getting a flank onto Ton X will not get the kill. And now Divine Esports quick response into that action, and one team has to dissipate. And Divine Esports saves Ton X life.
He's going to be okay for now. No flash though, but look at the dragon now being started.
Yeah, it's Divine Esports in the head of a pack here. Glacial Fisher with a 4-man knockup, and one team does not get that opportunity to even go through the dragon. Hexag ultimatum into the backside though, and now Stasis Anchat buys a little bit more time for Divine Esports to pull up. And now Baya jumps in backside, gets killed, and Divine Esports takes a buy one, take one. But the fight's not going to be over. Coyote is headlining this fight. But just cancel out the recall. One team will delay it, and now Divine starts up the Baron.
Yeah, this is just no Baya. That means no threat of diving into the Baron pit, land a crazy moonfall into low health targets. But this is Xianyo on a Lee Sin. There's still a potential steal.
Yeah, look at Coyote. Stuns up onto Xianyo. Forced to use the stasis enchant. Cannot even get the steal down because that stasis lasts for 2 seconds. And now Coyote, though, gonna get erased with Ninja 7 with a piercing arrow.
And Divine having that Baron buff now, they will be able to utilize the siege, possibly maybe even with the 1-3-1 setup, with possibly Len and Tanex for sure pressuring the side lanes. And for one team, they're wave clear wise, it looks good. They've got Ninja 7 on this Varus. They also have Baya on this Diana. But the dive potential coming from Divine just cause of Tanex and Len with the Hextech ultimatum and the possible follow-up with the Killer Instinct and everything else coming from Divine, it's just really scary. And the biggest question is, how will one team hold out? Because we're at that point, 16 minutes into the game, this is where Divine will reign.
Yeah, you have Kaisa already built up some more items. Coyote, as we stated a while ago, Rod of Aegis, Rapid Fire Cannon, and also Lich Bane. So his damage is gonna hurt. And one team has to respect this. We have to know what we do, because when we misstep, it's going to be single targeted CC chain for Divine Esports bringing us down.
It's going to be absolutely scary. Ninja 7, you mentioned, has that ninja, has the chain of corruptions. If ever Divine Esports decides to be aggressive, one team has that big punish, a lot of punishing tools for sure. That's why Divine is still very, very careful.
Yeah, and look at one team. They're holding on. Chain of Corruption to follow up to start up this fight. Guillotine gets the reset, though. It kills off Xianyo. One team fighting 4v5. Divine Esports spearheading this fight. And they almost get the kill. Killer Instinct to jump in to try and finish up. But Ninja 7 gets killed. Moonfall to delay it. Hero's Entrance. 2-man knockup. but that will just be a delay. Kid and Sue, the only one left to live, to defend, but Kid will be the one standing, and Divine Esports is just finishing this up. But no minion waves. Can this happen? Can this be the finishing fight? And Divine Esports takes game 1.
One team had a good start.